The film commences with the character known as Hitch, who strategically employs a dog as a means of orchestrating an encounter between two individuals. In the process, he dispenses invaluable advice on the art of captivating any woman's heart. Hitch proceeds to entrust the care of the dog to an awaiting gentleman on the street, setting the stage for a remarkable ruse. This gentleman, in a masterful display of acting, feigns the heroic rescue of the dog from imminent danger, while the concerned female owner of the canine rushes to the scene, her anxieties laid bare. This carefully choreographed incident offers a glimpse into the individual's elaborate scheme, which is driven by his affection for the young lady and his earnest desire to initiate contact with her. In the scene, the audience is presented with a glimpse of Hitch's professional role as a relationship consultant. He engages with various clients, offering guidance and insights into the intricacies of courting and connecting with women. He emphasizes the importance of authenticity, advising his clients to embrace their true selves, whether they are naturally shy or outgoing. Hitch asserts that women value sincerity over complete transparency, which elicits astonished reactions from his clients. He underscores that it is the responsibility of men not to jeopardize their chances with women. This scene effectively establishes Hitch as the love doctor, someone skilled in assisting men in their pursuit of romantic endeavors. The narrative then introduces Sarah Milos, an aromantic individual with a dim view of men. She expresses her disillusionment with her assessment that all men are essentially alike during a phone conversation while strolling. Her sentiment is one of despair, having lost faith in men. At her workplace, Sarah confides in her secretary about her recent solo vacation experiences. Her secretary suggests she needs a boyfriend, to which Sarah dismissively replies that she has no time for such relationships, recalling a similar sentiment from 2 years ago. She quips that relationships are for those who are biding their time for something better to come along. Her boss joins the conversation, noting her cynicism. Subsequently, it is revealed that Sarah works as a gossip columnist when she discloses incriminating photos of an individual cheating on their spouse. Her boss commends her efforts and hints at a possible raise. In another scene, Hitch and a friend engage in a game of pool. Hitch's frustration after missing a shot prompts his friend to indirectly broach the topic of dating. It becomes evident that Hitch, too, is aromantic. His friend encourages him to lower his guard and take a chance, to which Hitch responds by highlighting that not everyone is on the cusp of starting a family and that relationships are not meant for everyone. He asks his friend to let him live life on his terms. Their conversation is interrupted when the friend notices 2 attractive women entering the club. Hitch decides to approach them and confidently hands money to a woman, asking for 2 Coronas near the pool table. This gesture agitates the woman, leading to her angrily labeling Hitch as an asshole. Hitch clarifies that he made the request to distance her from a group of men. Impressed by Hitch's charm, the woman's attitude shifts and she begins to smile, inquiring about his motivations. Meanwhile, at the same club, Sarah's friend, Casey, who is experiencing challenges in finding a romantic relationship, confides in Sarah about meeting a guy while shopping for weekend items. Sarah, curious, asks about the circumstances of their encounter. Casey shares that the man was buying lingerie for his mother. Disappointed, Sarah suggests that the man's intentions might not be as innocent, as people typically don't purchase high-priced lingerie for their mothers. Casey, however, prefers the more innocent story. Sarah insists that while personal preferences matter, the reality is often less pleasant. Casey responds by expressing her reluctance to jump to conclusions about the man's honesty, to which Sarah conveys her understanding of Casey's perspective. This exchange leads Casey to assert that she doesn't want to end up like Sarah, sparking laughter between them. Casey then brings up the love doctor and expresses concerns about whether he can assist women. Sarah reminds her that she's not unwell but merely single and suggests that she should relax and enjoy the journey. In a subsequent scene, Hitch meets with another client, Albert Brenneman. Hitch inquires about the woman who has piqued Albert's interest. Albert reveals that his company manages her finances, and he is a junior tax consultant on her account. Hitch asks whether she is aware of Albert's attraction to her, to which Albert responds negatively, mentioning that he lent her his pen once. With this information, Hitch identifies the woman as Allegra Cole, a wealthy businesswoman. Hitch also notes that her ex-boyfriend was extremely wealthy, even claiming to own Sweden. Albert opines that the ex-boyfriend was unlikable, and Hitch humorously remarks on Albert's ambitious pursuit. Albert confesses that he believes Allegra is out of his league, and attempted to talk himself out of pursuing her. Feeling he's wasted Hitch's time, he decides to leave, but Hitch stops him, assuring him that he can help. He likens himself to Michelangelo working on the Sistine Chapel, with Albert being the Sistine Chapel. In the following scene, Allegra is discussing a potential $500,000 investment with her tax consultants. She expresses interest in her friend's design business, but Albert's boss dismisses the idea, suggesting alternative investment options that will take a month to prepare. Albert, however, disagrees with this approach, urging Allegra to take her own desires seriously rather than seeking advice from her father's golf buddies. This leads to a confrontation with his boss, and he ultimately quits his job. Albert returns to his office, where Hitch is waiting. Albert appears visibly exhausted, and admits that quitting was the boldest thing he's ever done. Hitch asks how he fared, and Albert expresses regret, planning to return to the meeting. After a brief scuffle, Hitch persuades Albert to let the situation marinate before taking further action. Later, Allegra visits Albert's office and appreciates how he spoke candidly to her. She asks if they could meet to discuss financial matters and taking risks. Albert, deferring to Hitch's guidance, mentions checking his schedule, and Allegra gives him her number, suggesting he call her by her first name. The next night, Hitch observes Sarah at the club while buying drinks. The bartender informs him that Sarah frequents the club, and mentions her drink preferences. Hitch buys 2 drinks and approaches Sarah, but another man, Chip, approaches her and starts flirting. Sarah, uninterested, tries to deter Chip but is interrupted. Hitch steps in, pretending to be Sarah's boyfriend, and successfully intervenes. After Chip departs, Hitch and Sarah engage in conversation. Hitch humorously points out various details about Sarah's appearance and introduces himself. They discuss their professions and share an engaging conversation. Hitch bids farewell, and the waiter delivers the drinks he purchased for Sarah, leaving her impressed by his smoothness and charm as she watches him depart with a pleasing smile. In the ensuing scene, the charismatic date doctor Hitch meets with a new client named Vance Munson. Hitch, despite arriving tardy, extends his apologies and takes a seat. Without delay, Hitch inquires about the woman who has captured Vance's interest. Vance articulates his experience of meeting someone and immediately sensing a profound connection, emphasizing that this connection transcends superficial appearances. Hitch probes for details regarding where Vance encountered this special woman. Vance elucidates that the pivotal moment occurred during a lingerie shopping excursion, subtly hinting to the audience that the individual he refers to is Casey, Sarah's friend. Vance passionately describes the woman as sweet, humorous, and utterly unforgettable, even lamenting how food has lost its flavor and colors have lost their vibrancy in her absence. However, he confronts a predicament as she remains unresponsive to his text messages. Hitch's smile undergoes a transformation as Vance unveils his true intentions, a desire solely for a physical encounter with her, devoid of any emotional attachment. Vance explicitly states that he believes things will not improve until he beds her. Shaken by this revelation, Hitch seeks clarification, affirming that his client genuinely values meaningful relationships and is not pursuing a hit-and-run approach. As he rises to depart, Vance intercepts him, coercing Hitch to assist him while issuing veiled threats of consequences if Hitch refuses. In response, Hitch reacts forcefully, twisting Vance's arm and forcefully slamming his head onto the table, issuing a stern warning that any further physical contact will result in a broken arm. A couple of days later, Hitch surprises Sarah with a visit to Ellis Island. After a brief guided tour led by Hitch's friend Larry, they find themselves standing in front of a glass shelf where Hitch reveals Sarah's immigration records. In a heartfelt gesture, he shows her the signature of her ancestor, Juan Milos, her great-great-grandfather, responsible for bringing her family's lineage to America. Sarah is overcome with emotion upon discovering that this ancestor was, in fact, a notorious serial killer in Spain. Hitch sincerely apologizes, explaining that he mistakenly took the headline Butcher of Cadiz to be a profession, not a reference to the infamous killer. Despite the shocking revelation, Sarah forgives Hitch, acknowledging the presence of dark family legacies that everyone seeks to forget. She thanks Hitch for the experience, Later, Sarah confides in her friend Casey about her date with Hitch, describing it as a mix of fun and disaster. Casey's surprise surfaces when she learns that Sarah is contemplating another date with Hitch. Sarah defends her decision, stating that she shouldn't always expect men to let her down, and she appreciates Hitch's unique flair. The following night, Albert gallantly opens the car door for Allegra at a fashion show he invites her to, guided by Hitch. Allegra expresses her enthusiasm for the idea, as her friend is involved in the fashion industry. Inside the event, Allegra introduces Albert to her friend, Maggie. Following Hitch's advice, Albert focuses on Maggie and compliments his tie and attire, earning Maggie's approval. Maggie's positive response sparks a question about Albert's sexual orientation, to which Allegra doesn't have a definitive answer but smiles. Upon learning about Albert and Allegra's date, Sarah is visibly shocked, finding it difficult to reconcile Allegra's status with Albert. She accuses her coworker of inviting Albert to the fashion show, but her coworker reveals that the ticket was purchased by someone named Alex Hitchings. Surprised by this revelation, Sarah calls Hitch and invites him to a food raid, driven by her boss's request to investigate his friendship with Albert. At the food raid, Sarah's boss's wife discusses relationships, leading to an inquiry about Hitch's intentions with Sarah. Sarah seizes the moment to ask Hitch about his connections with Allegra and Albert. Hitch explains that he doesn't know Allegra well, and that he and Albert are primarily business associates. An awkward moment ensues, during which Sarah and her boss suspect that Hitch might be concealing something. The tension dissipates when a waiter brings shrimp as a compliment from the chef. Sarah playfully feeds Hitch while her boss's wife comments on their companionship. Sarah eventually confronts Hitch about the change of topic, but Hitch starts making strange sounds due to an allergic reaction. Sarah's boss identifies Hitch as a consultant in marketing and brand management, and Hitch's symptoms escalate with his ears swelling. Sarah rushes Hitch to a pharmacy to buy Benadryl, but he dismisses the severity of his food allergy. In the pharmacy, Hitch panics upon seeing his swollen reflection in a mirror. Later that night, Hitch gets slightly intoxicated from the Benadryl and sings to Sarah. She takes this opportunity to ask him about Albert and Allegra's plans. Hitch reveals that they are going to a Knicks game, expressing Albert's affection for Allegra. They return to Sarah's place to let Hitch recover from the food allergy, and they engage in a meaningful conversation about their pasts. Sarah shares a personal story about her sister's near-death experience, and Hitch opens up about his own experience, equating it to love. Sarah concludes that perhaps it's best not to love at all, to which Hitch playfully responds, "Or ski." The following morning, Sarah awakens to find Hitch absent, leading to her disappointment and self-deprecating thoughts. After a brief moment, Hitch returns, and Sarah expresses her concern that he had left. Hitch explains that he went to get breakfast. Outside, Sarah and Hitch face each other, indicating the directions they are heading. Sarah playfully suggests that Hitch should give her a ring, which leads to a light-hearted moment as they realize she meant an actual ring on the phone. Hitch assures her that he will, and they both share a laugh before sharing a kiss and parting ways. Later, Sarah meets up with her friend Casey and comments on the beautiful day. However, her smile fades when she sees Casey crying. Sarah inquires about the problem, and Casey admits that she ignored Sarah's advice and went on a date with the lingerie guy, Vance. Casey shares her experience with Vance, and Sarah asks if they slept together, to which Casey confirms, explaining how quickly he got dressed afterward. She expresses her fear of ending up alone. In an attempt to console her, Sarah assures Casey that she will meet a great guy with a great smile and travel the world together. Casey is surprised by this positive outlook from Sarah, who she knows is an aromantic. Casey jokingly questions her transformation. Sarah insists that it's true, and Casey shares what Vance said when leaving, implying that a date doctor is not needed. Sarah then meets with Vance Munson to discuss the dating consultant he met before dating Casey. Vance initially ignores her, but Sarah threatens to write an article about him in the newspaper. He finally provides the love doctor's card and expresses dissatisfaction with the situation, to which Sarah responds by kicking him. Hitch calls Sarah for a do-over date at his place, acknowledging the disaster of their previous date at the food raid. Sarah agrees to the new date plan. The following night, Albert and Allegra, having just come from the thrilling Knicks game, arrived at Allegra's home. They leisurely made their way to the doorway, the excitement of the game still lingering in the air, as Allegra said that she had a great time tonight. They shared a passionate kiss. Hitch unknowingly meets with Sarah's secretary, as a setup arranged by Sarah's boss. Meanwhile, Sarah's coworker discreetly takes pictures of the encounter. Hitch asks the secretary how long he's been in love with the woman he's seeking help to date, and the secretary replies uncertainly. When Sarah takes the camera from her coworker, she discovers the shocking truth that Hitch is the date doctor. Feeling betrayed and disappointed, she hands the camera back to her coworker and storms off. Upon realizing he has been spotted, Hitch greets the secretary as Jeff and departs. Sarah brings the evidence of Hitch's true identity as the date doctor to her boss, who questions her resolve. She expresses her determination, and the boss shares a revelation from his wife, which indirectly references Sarah's guarded nature. Sarah admits her feelings for Hitch, revealing her disappointment with the situation. She then goes to Hitch's place for their planned date, where their fight ensues, with Sarah revealing that she knows about Hitch's profession and how he operates, leading to a tense moment. The following day, Sarah prominently features Hitch in the newspaper article, asking men who read it that could he help them get with Allegra Cole for their own reasons. Upon the revelation of his identity, Hitch quickly finds himself in a frenetic state as women accost him concerning their relationships, inquiring whether their partners had enlisted his services before commencing their respective romances. At a speed dating event with Casey, Hitch makes an unexpected appearance, confronting Sarah regarding her actions. She divulges that Vance served as her source of information for the article. In a display of surprise and anger, Hitch defends his true motives for being a date doctor, emphasizing the challenges men encounter in establishing connections with the women they desire. He also reveals his aversion to collaborating with someone like Vance, attributing individuals of his ilk as the reason for what he does was because of jerks like Vance. His agitation becomes evident as he departs from the scene. One day she crosses paths with him and offers a heartfelt apology for the pain she caused. In response, Hitch offers a curt acknowledgement, expressing his disinterest in revisiting the past. Moments later, Hitch endeavors to mend the relationship between Albert and Allegra, successfully achieving this objective. He then rushes to Sarah's apartment with the hope of winning her back. As he elucidates his feelings and motivations, Sarah opens the door to reveal a man inside her residence. Stunned and heartbroken, Hitch initially remains silent before making a bold gesture to prove his love, clinging to the roof of the car, willing to risk his life. He asserts that he doesn't know the man inside, but he is certain that the man cannot love Sarah in the same manner he does. In response to his impassioned display, Sarah kisses him and they reunite. It is later revealed that the man was, in fact, her sister's husband, and that it was an attempt to know how far would Hitch go for her. With their relationship rekindled, Sarah and Hitch are invited to Albert and Allegra's wedding. Despite her happiness with Hitch, Sarah is equally delighted to witness Casey finding a suitable partner, a development subtly orchestrated by Hitch, implying his continued role as the date doctor.